Let's bring in documentary filmmaker and director of Brave New Film Foundation, Robert Greenwald, and the national security correspondent for The Nation magazine, Jeremy Scahill. Gentlemen, great to have you with us tonight. Jeremy, we'll start with you here. Before we send one more dime to Pakistan, do we need a commitment from them that we're not going to have a problem taking out terrorists in their country?
Well, I don't think we're going to get that kind of a commitment from Pakistan, and so we have to ask, why is it that the U.S. continues to do this kind of business with Pakistan? Not only sending them weapons, we send them fighter bombers, helicopters, we train their military, their elite forces. We have our special operations forces, Ed, embedded with them, going into the frontier provinces on a regular basis. But here's the catch. If we stop working with Pakistan, that means we have to get out of Afghanistan, and we have to get out of Afghanistan quick, because the majority of the military supplies that the U.S. has in Afghanistan come in right through Pakistan. They go into Karachi, overland by train or truck, and then they go into Afghanistan. So if you shut off that valve, you shut down the war in Afghanistan. So we need to rethink the whole policy, because right now, U.S. policy in Afghanistan is dependent upon Pakistan. They had a chess game where Osama bin Laden was one card that they were holding out, one pawn that they were holding and using against us. The other one, though, is that we need them to get supplies through Pakistan. So it's very high stakes. In the military, they say it's like fifth-dimensional chess.
Robert Greenwald, you have been an advocate for years to get out of Afghanistan. You have documented exactly what we have done in that country and how it's cost us billions of dollars. But I'm curious on your opinion on our most recent dealings with Pakistan and the billions of dollars that we're sending there. Where do you stand on it? Where are we mistaken?
Well, I think to the extent that we continue to support corrupt regimes and send them billions of dollars, regimes that do not have the popular support of the people, regimes that are not committed to any of the values that we Americans believe in. And the only reason we've been doing it is because of a narrow notion started by the Bush administration that everything was about terrorism. It hurt our values, and it actually has hurt our security in deep ways, because we've alienated large parts of these countries. We're incredibly unpopular at Pakistan, and that's after spending billions. Why? Because the billions have gone to a corrupt regime, an authoritarian regime, and to military solutions to what are profoundly political problems.
So, gentlemen, I want to ask both of you, doesn't President Obama have more credibility on national security issues and fighting terrorism in the wake of taking down Osama bin Laden? It would seem to me, Robert, that the president, if he had to make the case for more money to both those countries in this effort, that he might get that support. What do you think?
I do think he has more credibility, but I do not think he would get the support if he asked for more money. If you went around the country, I cannot imagine you can find rational human beings who would say, yes, we're spending $2 billion a week in Afghanistan, spend more. That's going to make us safer, because it's not. And people know it instinctively. People are smart about it. And it's a war that's never helped our security. And I don't think Obama or any magician or anybody could convince us of that at this point. You've seen the opinion polls in terms of the war, and it's a radical, continued shift, including independents, including Republicans.
Well, let me tell you something. It's a big myth that President Obama is somehow some kind of a dove. President Obama uses this force, the Joint Special Operations Command, the guys that killed Osama bin Laden. He's using them in Yemen covertly. He's using them in Somalia. He's hitting a lot harder, according to the special ops guys that I talked to, than President Bush ever was. The problem here, Ed, is that we're using our most elite soldiers to fight mid-level Taliban people and farmers in Afghanistan, and in killing them in these night raids and killing innocent civilians, we're giving people in Afghanistan an actual reason to want to fight us. So we really need to rethink this strategy. But on that issue that you're asking about, Ed, Dick Cheney and those guys, they have PhDs in historical revisionism. They're the ones that took us into Iraq. Yeah. They're the ones that allocated the best forces we had to a war that was based on lies.
So is this most recent big development a step for us to get out of Afghanistan? Is this now a turn, a time for us to pivot as a country strategically?
We should. It should be a moment where the president can say, I've stated from the beginning that the goal was to dismantle and disrupt the al-Qaeda network. We have chopped the head off of that network. In Afghanistan, there are less than 50 al-Qaeda operatives there, according to U.S. intelligence. It is time to get out of Afghanistan. It's hurting our national security and our image in the world to stay there.
Robert, your thoughts on that? Is this a time to pivot?
It's exactly a time. We have an extraordinary opportunity in front of us. We've launched a petition to try to reach the administration with that. We're doing videos about it. I completely agree with Jeremy on this, and everybody who cares about war, who cares about ending the wars, who cares about our country, this is a time to really get active, to call, write, visit, and tell people now, get the troops out.
But gentlemen, how do we know that al-Qaeda is not going to reestablish itself?
Well, let me just say something. You're never going to be able to destroy terrorism around the world, and you aren't going to be able to destroy every single person that affiliates themselves with al-Qaeda. Right now in Yemen, for instance, there are maybe 300 to 600 people that affiliate themselves with al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. The question is strategically, how do you approach this? If you believe that you can kill your way to peace, you're wrong. You're going to open the door for massive blowback. We need to totally re-engage with the Muslim and Arab world in a way that's consistent with the nonviolent revolutions that we've seen around the world. We need to stop believing in this idea we're going to kill all the bad guys. It's just not going to happen.
And Robert, do you think President Obama wants to get out of Afghanistan and that he believes that we can successfully get out and not have the threat that we have now?
Well, I'm not a mind reader or a psychologist, but I want to believe that, Ed. I hope that, as smart as he is...
Because that's going to be pivotal politically for him, is it not?
It's going to be very important politically, it's going to be very important morally, and it's going to be very important in terms of his legacy. So it's hard for me to imagine that he is not thinking how to get out, how to de-escalate, and how to come up, Ed, with a sensible policy around security that's not about invading, occupying. The single biggest reason for the increase of the Taliban is our occupying that country.
Okay. Robert Greenwald, Jeremy Scahill, great to have both of you with us tonight. Appreciate your insight, your knowledge, and your work.